prepared to undertake himself, and this certainly contributed to his success as an outstanding leader of soldiers in the field of unconventional warfare. Preface by Fiona Ferguson, niece of Lieutenant Colonel Mayne. Hamish first approached me 2.5 years ago with the idea of writing an article about my Uncle Blair. I was at first very hesitant. Was this going to be a rehash of the old stories, only even more embellished? Even as a young girl, I was aware that everybody knew Blair personally, and once my relationship was known, I would have to listen to an even better version of a story I had heard many times before. The pubs in Newtonards must have made a fortune from the number of people in them when Blair was there who had witnessed these deeds in person. I also didn't see how I could help. I was only 10 when Blair died. My father had given the war diary to the SAS, and all I had were the scrapbooks of newspaper cuttings kept by my Aunt Barbara, letters and other documents kept by various members of the family, especially my father and Aunt Francie, plus some of Blair's own papers. However, Hamish had been given my name and address by Jimmy Story, whom I had met at the unveiling of the statue of Blair in Newtonards, and on a couple of occasions since with his lovely wife, Morag. If Jimmy was prepared to talk to Hamish, it would be churlish of me to refuse to help in any way I could. What I hadn't realised was that among Francie's papers, which came to me on her death, was a diary that Blair had kept in the Antarctic. Soon after he had read this, I realised that Hamish was determined to get to the true man, and was doing his utmost to talk to the few remaining people who really knew Blair, not those acquaintances who claimed friendship so as to bask in the reflected glory. I knew my father would not react kindly to the idea of a new book, so I did not tell him until I was convinced that Hamish was after the truth, warts and all. Dad has now read the manuscript and is very impressed with the research Hamish has undertaken. No previous author has attempted to do anything similar. They have just reiterated the stories of armchair friends. If anyone were to ask me which book they should read about Col Paddy, my unreserved answer would be the one by Hamish Ross. Part 1. Chapter 1. The Legend. Ransom Stoddard. You're not going to use the story, Mr. Scott. Maxwell Scott. This is the West, sir. When the legend becomes fact, print the legend. Taken from the film The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, directed by John Ford. An Irish solicitor, Blair Mayne, or Paddy Mayne as he was more widely known, became one of the most outstanding soldiers and leaders of the Second World War. He had been an international rugby player who represented Ireland and played for the British Lions before the war, and after serving in a commando and seeing action in Syria, he joined the new unit that David Stirling was establishing, the Special Air Service. The record of Mayne's achievements in little over 12 months with the SAS in the North African desert reads like fiction. Yet it is factual and well recorded. The groups he led destroyed over 100 enemy planes on the ground. These raids, with few exceptions, were carried out on foot and by stealth. Luck was an element in these successes, but the one common factor was Mayne's ability to read the situation on the ground, anticipate how the enemy would react, and then attack. He was 27 years of age when he won the DSO for the first time. Over the next 3 years, Mayne led the unit in Sicily and mainland Italy in a very different kind of warfare. Then in France, behind enemy lines, and in Germany, where the unit was the spearhead of an armoured thrust. In each of these 3 campaigns, he added a further bar to the DSO, then received the Croix de Guerre and the Légion d'honneur. At the end of the war, after a short period...